Turkey has begun a land operation on the Syrian Kurdish People's Protection Units (YPG), with troops entering Syrian soil at 11:05 a.m. on Jan. 21, Prime Minister Bin Ali Yildirim told a group of journalists. The operation, which came hours after a major airstrike on the YPG on Jan. 20, will consist of 4 phases to create a secure zone with a 30-kilometer depth, he said. There are around 8,000 to 10,000 terrorists in Afrin, Yildirim said. Turkish land forces and the Free Syrian Army FSA rebels have begun a joint advance on Syrian Kurdish People's Protection Units (YPG) militants in Syria's northwestern Afrin province, state-run Anadolu Agency has reported. Our units have entered Afrin from 2 branches at 11:05 a.m. with the Free Syrian Army. This means the land operation has begun, Bin Ali Yildirim said, speaking to editor-in-chief of Turkish news publications in a meeting held in Istanbul on Jan. 21. The minister said the operation would be carried out in 4 phases. The first phase, he said, would be aimed to form a secure zone on the Turkish borders between Azaz and Afrin. Following the first phase, Yildirim said, the cleaning would require an even more thorough work and that there was no need to rush. YPG is not the only group in the operation area, Yildirim said, adding that ISIL also has a presence there. The minister also said, ISIL militants were allowed to leave Raqqa under US watch, referring to a BBC report, and that they are now stationed in Afrin. Operation begins on January 20. The operation comes hours after a major airstrike on the YPG on Jan. 20. Turkey is also backing the FSA advance with tanks and cross-border artillery fire. Military sources told the Daily Hurriyet that FSA units backed by Turkish tanks are advancing on the field and that YPG militants are withdrawing to villages and towns without putting up a serious resistance. Dubbing the new campaign the O-Branch operation, the Turkish military said it began hitting cross-border targets at 5 p.m. local time 1400 GMT, aiming for both the YPG and the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant ISIL. Ankara views the Democratic Unity Party (PYD) and its armed wing the YPG as a terrorist group organically linked to the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party (PKK). Jets return to bases. Tomorrow the land force units may also get involved, depending on the developments. Prime Minister Bin Ali Yildirim said in a televised press briefing on Jan. 20 together with opposition Nationalist Movement Party MHP leader Devlet Bahçeli. Turkish Chief of Staff Cengiz Hulusi AKAR commanded the operation from the General Staff headquarters in Ankara, where he, at night, received a visit from Yildirim for a briefing, according to state-run Anadolu Agency. By the evening of Jan. 20, the army said it had struck almost all of its targets in the area, adding that the 72 fighters jets that took part in the operation had safely returned to their bases. Out of the 113 Democratic Union Party targets, 108 have been destroyed as of 1830-1530 GMT. All the killed and wounded people, who have been sent to hospitals, are members of terrorist groups, the statement from the Turkish General Staff read. The next day, on January 21, the Turkish General Staff said 153 targets were hit. So far, 153 targets, which were used as shelters, hideouts and ammunition depots by terrorist organizations PKK, KCK-PYD, YPG and Daesh, have been targeted, said Turkish General Staff in a fresh statement. Operation O-Branch continues as planned, the General Staff also said on the second day of the operation. The Turkish Air Force also reportedly hit the Mena military airbase in northwestern Syria, which the U.S. used for supplying weapons to the YPG. 3 rockets fired from Syria hit the border province of Kilis early on January 21, following the operation. The rockets struck 4 points in a neighborhood city center at around 0140 a.m. 2240 GMT, according to Governor Mehmet Tekin Arslan, who said one person suffered slight injuries in the event due to scattered pieces of glass. Meanwhile, Ali Ebers, head of the Turkish Religious Authority, has said conquest prayers will be performed before the morning and evening prayers at mosques. Tanks deployed following the official statements, at around 10 p.m. local time. Private television channel CNN Turk showed 3 Turkish tanks on trucks passing through the Onkupine border gate to Syria during a broadcast. Hurriyet reporters in the field also reported having seen Turkish tanks being deployed to the district of Hassa in the southern province of Hatay across the Syrian border. Meanwhile, the Turkish Red Crescent has built up a tent camp in Azaz in the east of Afrin as a cautionary measure to aid a possible human flow. Civilians as human shields. The Turkish military said the YPG is using civilians in Afrin as a human shield. The Turkish intelligence has also reportedly confirmed that the YPG is trying to depict the militants hit by military operations as civilians. Civilians who managed to leave Afrin headed toward Aleppo before the YPG blocked the road, reports said. Thousands of pro-Turkey civilians have escaped the keep-controlled areas in an attempt to reach Aleppo, an official told Hurriyet Daily News. Our assessment is that they would like to use civilians as a human shield and blame potential civilian casualties on Turkey. The road to Aleppo has reportedly been shut following an agreement between the YPG and the regime, the official said. The source said the aim of the operation was to liberate the area by eliminating the keep-linked administration, which has been repressing the local population through anti-democratic and authoritarian means, in order to create an environment in which the people of Afrin can govern themselves in a democratic fashion. We aim to rebuild democratic institutions as well as the social and economic infrastructure in the area, the official said. We welcome the local population's support for Turkey's military incursion. In our efforts to restore peace and stability in Afrin, we will draw from our experiences in Jarablus, Azaz and Al-Bab, the official said, referring to the former operations on the Syrian soil. The Afrin operation is intended to continue in Manbij, where local tribes have been calling on Turkey to liberate the area and establish a democratic administration there, the source said. The military said the operation was carried out with respect for Syria's territorial integrity and stemmed from Turkey's rights under international law. Deputy Prime Minister Bekir Bozdagul also underlined the operation is within legal framework and in line with Turkey's right to self-defense, on his Twitter account. Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu said the Turkish Republic is determined and capable of destroying all threats against its sovereignty, on his Twitter account on the same day. Opposition lends support. Main opposition Republican People's Party CHP leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu lent full support to the operation. We are totally confident about our brave army and give full support to the operation. What we care about is the security of our borders. No countries would want a terrorist organization at its border, he told Hurriyet. He said it was important that Turkey used the Syrian airspace as a result of diplomatic efforts. Russia voices concerns, repositions Afrin forces. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Ministry called for restraint and expressed their concern upon receiving news about the Turkish military engagement in Syria, Reuters reported. Russia has also relocated some of its ground forces in Syria following the developments. The operations group of the Center for Reconciliation of Warring Sides and military police have been redeployed from the area of Afrin to the area of Tel Ajar in the Tel Rifat de-escalation zone in order to avoid possible provocations and to ensure Russian servicemen's health are not exposed to risks, Russian TASS reported, citing the Russian Defense Ministry. The U.S., on the other hand, said the U.S.-led coalition against ISIL was not involved in any operation in Syria's Afrin, calling on parties to avoid escalating tensions and focus on the fight against ISIL. We encourage all parties to avoid escalation and to focus on the most important task of defeating ISIS, said the Pentagon spokesperson Major Adrian Rankine-Galloway in a written statement on Jan. 20, using an alternative acronym for ISIL. We recognize Turkey's security concerns regarding the PKK, a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization. The U.S. does not provide any support to PKK. The U.S. coalition does not have operations ongoing in Afrin because it is focused on military operations against ISIS, he said. The U.S.-led coalition against the ISIL does not recognize Afrin as an operational area, Commander of U.S. Central Command CENTCOM Gen. Joseph Vittel said. We are not paying particular attention to that area with our military resources, Vittel told reporters during a flight in the Middle East. Adding that the fight against the ISIL still continues in Syria, Vittel also claimed that Turkey's operation in Afrin would distract efforts. Vittel said Turkey had informed the coalition about its operation plan in Afrin but not a possible operation in Manbij. However, the Russian Defense Ministry said the U.S. is fueling the crisis in northern Syria by supplying uncontrolled weapons to pro-American groups. The Pentagon's uncontrolled deliveries of modern weaponry to the pro-S militants in the north of Syria, according to our information, has contributed to the rapid escalation of tensions that has prompted the Turkish special operation, the ministry said on Jan. 20. The operation followed President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's announcement on January 20 that the Afrin operation had actively begun. Afrin, Syria, YPG, PKK, Army, Erdogan, Combat, Security, Operation, Military Operation, Troops, Proxies, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, U.S. Coalition, ISIL, Corridor, Middle East, Proxy, CHP, Kılıçdaroğlu, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu.